What's up to all you filmmakers and actors out there? This is Ron K. Armstrong, filmmaker extraordinaire, with another video for you. In this video, I want to talk about why Hollywood gives Black actors and filmmakers only one chance. But before I dive into that, I want you to hit the like button on this video. And if this is your first time to my channel, welcome. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications on when I go live. So I wanted to touch on this subject because as I'm looking at my career, plotting where I wanted to go, and taking measures to have that come to fruition, I'm studying other filmmakers and actors, and I'm studying their career to see how they got to where they are, what's next for them, and things of that nature. And it's very interesting. And you start to develop and see a pattern where there is definitely a lack of equality in Hollywood between Black actors, white actors, Black filmmakers and white filmmakers. Now, I'm not going to get into like Asians and Latinos because, to be honest, I think they're sellouts. They get into the Hollywood system and then they cry diversity and they cry foul just so that they can have the rights exclusive to their group. But you never hear them crying out foul when you see terrible depictions of African Americans. But when it comes to their own special interest, that's all they care about. So a little sideline there. But what I want you to take away from this video, which is really important, is the understanding of how Hollywood operates when it comes to race. Because Hollywood tries to pretend it's liberal, tries to pretend that it's not racist, and it's very racist. From the casting to the way it handles people's behind the scenes, it's just they're all about the idea of racism. And as things change, as time goes on, we can see this evolve into many different things. And it's not a very simple black and white issue anymore. You know what I mean? One of the things I want to point out is how white actors and white filmmakers, despite numerous failures, are given leeways, more chances, meanwhile losing millions of dollars in money. Kevin Costner is one of my favorite actors. He did a film called Waterworld, which was a complete flop, but he was able to recover from that. Now, I'm thinking to myself, if you have someone who was a Black actor in that role and cost the studio millions of dollars, would the studio give that person a second chance? I think the answer would be no, to be honest with you. I think it would be no. And this is what you're seeing now, but it gets a little bit more complicated. I was recently just researching the story of Josh Trent, who directed the Fantastic Four movie, and which was a total flop. But even after that flop, he was given another opportunity to direct another film to make a comeback. And what I mean by the film was a flop, not just commercially, but behind the scenes, there was all kinds of politics, and to the point of where, for example, he was accused of destroying his hotel room, fighting with the studio, going public about certain things he shouldn't have been talking about publicly. And throughout all of that, he still gets another chance. But we see this a lot in Hollywood when it comes to white actors and white filmmakers. You know, there's a recent article out with Robert Patrick who talks about, for the role of Batman, he don't believe in getting in shape. He's like, what? You know, it's actors who work out hard for a role are setting a dangerous precedent. We shouldn't have to get into shape. So in other words, he just wants to be lazy, but the studio supports that. The studio's okay with that. If a Black actor tried to do that, they would not be working. They'll be labeled as difficult. Case in point, we look at Wesley Snipes. Wesley Snipes had a legitimate argument with Blade 3, Trinity. That film purposely tried to squeeze him out as the main character. Consequently, what happened when he tried to file a lawsuit to speak out against that? He was blacklisted. Meanwhile, you can have all these other actors can come out and say things that are negative about Black people, about minority people, yet still have a comeback, you know? And one has to question that. Whereas a Black actor or Black director says one statement, It becomes front page news on the Hollywood Reporter, and now there's talks of him being removed and things of that nature. Um, there was a film called Birth of a Nation. It's a remake. Well, not a remake, I shouldn't say. It used the same title, uh, but it was a film about Nat Turner, the revolutionary um, rebel who led a rebellion against slavery. Now, the filmmaker in that case had some accusation of sleeping with a woman, actually raping her. Happened years ago, settled in court. They brought that up, used that as a means to bury that film, and now you don't hear much from him. Meanwhile, you can have other white actors have these accusations in the background, Roman Polanski, and go off to be big successes. So that tells you something. But a lot of that can be attributed to our fault because we don't stand united. You see, black actors in Hollywood and black directors know that there's a double standard, but no one wants to say it publicly or take any steps to address it. In fact, what I'm going to tell you shouldn't be shocking at all. Many of there's so few of them in Hollywood, of the black directors purposely don't foster and mentor other directors, other black directors, young black directors or young black filmmakers. They purposely, and I think one filmmaker who I knew on a personal level, and him and I spoke, was John Singleton. And he was the first one to bring this up publicly in an interview, talking about how certain black filmmakers won't help other filmmakers because they want to be the only guys in town, the only black filmmakers in town. And that is so true. And it's appalling. It's appalling. You know, the other thing that we see is not just the being very liberal and giving white actors these chances and directors these chances over and over again, is the fact that they're now playing the gender game, meaning that when it comes to black actors, they want to give more roles to black women, recycle the same actors, like a Taraji P. Henson, I think her name is. How many times are you going to see her in films? She's in Hidden Figures. She's in all these other films, and it's just tiring to see them recycle the same black actors. But here's my point. So what they're doing is they're playing this whole thing about, all right, we're going to hire black women, give them more roles than black men, and in so doing, the subject matter of these films will be to vilify black men. So they're using them as a conduit to paint a negative portrayal of black men in general. And these black women, if they play ball in Hollywood, they gain favor, they gain additional movie roles. One of the most prominent ones I can think of is Tiffany Haddish, who, in my opinion, doesn't have any talent. But you'll see her being recycled and used again and again and again in many films. And then you have Janelle Monáe. So what Hollywood wants to do is position the black actresses or actors to actually kind of usurp any authority or position that black actors have, and to slowly marginalize black actors. But those black actors that are gay, openly gay, they will promote, they will, and sometimes you have to be very aware of this, okay? Who's that kid called Little Nas who did that Western rap? You have to understand that some of these individuals gain notoriety and fame, and they seem to come out of nowhere, is not simply because they're talented, it's because they fit the check boxes. Okay, we need an African-American male who is gay and open about it so that we can use him to push an agenda. Not that they're looking for talented individuals, but they're purposely positioning these black actors because it's all about identity politics, and they're pushing that because they don't like a heterosexual, straight, strong black male. So to counter that, they will use black actresses to vilify them, use other black actors who are gay to vilify them, create these narratives such as gay is the new black, things like that. Now, I'm not, don't get it misconstrued. I'm not here saying anything's wrong with being gay. That's a different argument. But what I am telling you is that there is an agenda that Hollywood plays when it comes to black actors and filmmakers. And as I've also alluded to, how we operate, which we are definitely out of pocket. We're wrong in the things that we're doing. Again, having black filmmakers not foster and mentor other young black filmmakers so they can be the only ones in the business. I've seen this myself personally. Recycling black actors and actresses so they're the only ones that you see, and there's no, you've got to have a system to where you are getting more talent coming in. When you cut off that supply, it's a very limited, narrow perspective you're getting. And what's even worse is what you'll find is that when you look at the array of white films, they cover a wide subject matter. But our diet that we're relegated to as black audience members is a lot of crap. Musical biopics, tons of those. Movies about sports figures, tons of those. But we're never given an opportunity to do something on a level of Star Wars. Now you may say, well, Black Panther came out, so we're going to be doing, well, that has an agenda in and of itself there because they're trying to push the Dora Milaje. And if you don't know what Dora Milaje is, they're the black women who are his protectors. So there's going to be a whole sub-story there with again, identity politics, lesbian affair, or something that's going to happen. And then T'Challa's sister is going to take over the role of Black Panther. They're setting the stage up for that. So we need to be aware of that. So whereas you have in Hollywood with white actors and filmmakers, talent may be a prerequisite to get you someplace. In the world of black actors and black filmmakers, that is not enough. You've got to fit you've got to be in that checkbox. If you're not, then they're not going to want to work with you because you're of no interest to them. Because like it or not, there's a certain type of programming that they're trying to put out to condition the minds of the masses of the population. And the unfortunate fact is that if we're given an opportunity to try and do something radical and different, and if it doesn't work, then we're excluded from the system. We're kicked out, never be heard or seen from again. While white actors and filmmakers are literally given chance after chance after chance. If you look at some of these film directors, their record, it's horrible on the amount of failures. If you look at Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker, it's a horrible film. But there are no repercussions to the screenwriter or the directors. They'll go off and do more films. But if a black actor had did that, there would be criticism about the story structure, criticism about the film technique, all kinds of things. Freelance, how you doing, man? How's it going? So I think we need to be aware of this. And when you're trying to break into this industry, I want you to start looking at plotting your career and how you're going to make that climb with the understanding that you're not going to have a lot of latitude. You're not going to have the freedoms that your white counterparts have. They're going to be able to do things. I mean, at the very basic level, we know, and no one's going to argue this point, that when a white filmmaker wants to get money to fund his film, Hollywood will provide millions and millions of dollars. But a black actor has to, or a black filmmaker, I should say, has to fight to get the little bit of money they can to do just a very basic production. And it's not about if the studio has faith in him or his credentials. It's the studio just has a double standard. I remember one production company, small production company out of, it was run out of, I think it was like, it was in LA. And they had started a black division to where they would be producing black films, but they would be straight to video type stuff, straight to streaming. And then when you watched it, you realize that these films were shot directly on video, which is the lowest quality. So I'm like, here you are, studio, you have the money to finance or create this black division. And instead of doing what you are doing with your white films, which is shooting them on film, you go ahead and you shoot them on analog or video. How does that make sense? And you can see it right away. It looks crappy. The production value is bad because the budgets that are allocated for those productions aren't good. But again, I want to point to the fact that we have to hold ourselves accountable too, because we're responsible for some of this. We're responsible for not speaking out about this. Of course, you're afraid that you get blacklisted or certain studios won't work with you, but you're going to have to take a chance, or else what we're doing or what's going on now is going to continue. It's not going to change. You know, for a long time, I saw what Hollywood was doing, and they were doing this like with the Bond films, The Bourne Identity, where they were bringing a black actor who would not have a principal role, but it kind of is a principal role, where they would play the head of the CIA, the head of the police department. And because they would give them that role, that role had a little bit of authority or teeth behind it, but yet you never saw them much in the film. That was as if they were doing something really great for us, when they're not. I was looking at Mission Impossible, and I forgot which one it was. I love those films, by the way. I saw Angela Bassett play the head of the, was that Mission Impossible? Yeah, the head of the department. And I'm like, it's typical what they do. She serves no purpose as the head of the department, because you see her so infrequently. You don't really see her that much. And so what if she has an authoritative role? It's that they're trying to give the perception that they're doing something when it's really insulting what they're giving us. It's the same thing they did with Thor, and I forgot his name. He was the black guy who was in charge of the gate, and yeah, I forgot his name for some. But anyway, he's supposed to be one of the most powerful superheroes there were. And I'm saying to myself, well, if that is true, why aren't we given more insight into his story and who he is, his background and everything, you know? But we don't get that. That just doesn't happen, you know? The character is played by Idris Elba, who's an excellent actor, you know? But the thing about that is they build it up saying, oh, well, he controls the gate, and he's Odin had admitted that he's one of the most powerful. But I'm like, well, it does no good. I think his character's name is Hemdall or something like that. It does no good if you're not given any screen time to his character or his background. It's just so you're just insulting us at that point. But that's how Hollywood does. They like to create the illusion of inclusion, but it's really an insult. When I saw Ghostbusters 2016 and what they did to the black woman's character, it was totally appalling. But we never said anything, right? And she took the role. She played a street chick where the other women were scientists and you know, very, very prominent scientists and intellectual and all that, where she just played some really dumb, sassy black mammy. It was just embarrassing, you know. It's just like ridiculousness. So, so I'm not going to sit here and go, "Hey, you know, it's all Hollywood's fault." I want to make it clear that we have a role in this as well, you know. And she's a comedian, by the way, so I'm not really sure what her name is, but what is her name? Let me see if I can find her name. If you guys know, let me know. Anyway, she's on Saturday Night Live, so it was really surprising that No one in the studio stopped and said, "Hey, you know what? This black woman's character is very insulting." Because they could have written it such as she is a student studying um, extra dimensional phenomena or studying ghosts. But no, they had to make her just a street chick. So I thought that was really, really insulting. But anyway, getting to the point of if you're interested in breaking into the industry, start to really take a look at how you're going to maneuver with your career. All right. What are the moves you're going to make with your career? And you have to be very calculated and very precise because you don't have a lot of room for error. Hollywood doesn't tolerate that when it comes from minorities. And unfortunately, we do have to look with a side eye at Asians and Latinos because they do have a history of not working with us, siding with us, and they're only being out for their own interest. And I've seen numerous occasions, especially with Bill Cosby, where when we have done shows, we have always employed them and worked with them. But when the shoe was only on the foot, they excluded us from their productions and their works. So I want to thank you. Hope this provides some wisdom as to how the system works, how you need to maneuver in your career. So this is Ron K. Armstrong, filmmaker extraordinaire. Until the next video, keep making films.